Hello everybody, I am back. I apologise for not uploading. I have had numerous excuses as to why I haven't, so instead of just going through them, let's just say I'm back, but I'm going to be doing something a bit different when it comes to reviews. So I don't really want to do the album of the month thing anymore, where I do the big video at the end of each month, because there's a lot of stuff I end up having to listen to at one sitting, and I don't think it's fair to necessarily judge an album like that, or at least give my opinion on it. So I've decided what's easier is I can listen to a bunch of albums that came out in the week, is much easier, and then just do a small little video once a week of that. And I've decided I'm going to do a top 5 albums of the week, as well as also if anything that hasn't made it, I will just mention it beforehand. So I've got 7 I've listened to this week, so 2 of them won't be in the top 5, but I've ranked my listens here, so let's go for it. The Pretty Reckless, Dear God, I wasn't huge on it, to be honest. I think it is a pretty reckless album goes. Taylor Mortensen is pretty damn good, but I just feel like even here she's not putting the best of her potential onto her vocals. I just feel like there's some moments that could be a bit more polished with it, and I feel like another issue is we're going more into the ballad stuff, and that's fine, but as I feel like the vocals aren't the strongest from hers, having more type of songs that rely more on her voice rather than hard rock instrumentation, it doesn't quite bring in the best impression, I could say. I feel like as a whole though, the album does have potential. There are some good bangers on there. The singles are pretty enjoyable, but for the most part, I just think the album is just kind of average for them. It's probably one of their weaker entries. It just doesn't really have much of the Pretty Reckless sound that I'm a big fan of, so I've had to put this one not in the top 5, and the amount of times I've and I do apologise, I'm getting a bit rusty on this review side of things. So we have also the new one by Switchfoot, Christian American rock band with Forever Now. It honestly has got some good stuff as well. First few songs is kind of a mix between some of the best stuff on the record and just some fine stuff, but as you kind of dive more into the record, it takes quite a bit of that, I guess, indie rock sound. It kind of feels more commercial than what they used to be, but I mean, I'm not surprised, as the same band has been going for quite a bit. This type of thing normally happens, but I do feel like the opening track and some of the tracks on the first half are pretty solid. I do quite like them, to be honest, and they surprised me more than I expected to. Quite enjoy it for that, so I'll give this one the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a decently good record, but it's not strong enough to be in my top 5 of this week. It just misses out barely. So there's that. So now we're going to the top 5. So number 5, I've got the new one by Siamese, Dissolution. So Siamese last album, I can't remember the name, I think it's Vertigo, I don't know if that's completely wrong though. I wasn't that big on it. I think the problem I had with Siamese last record was just a lot of the songs just felt so boring to me. At least they did have some interesting ideas. I feel like it had some decent highs, but for the most part I was underwhelmed by it. I feel like what made that one stand out to me was the features, if anything. Like The Shape of Water is one of the highlights of the record, and I think that one has got one of the better features on here. But this record is definitely an interesting one. It's not the best, but it definitely has got some good polish to it. I think there's some interesting ideas, some decent moments, but I even would argue the previous album had higher highs. This to me just kind of feels like a very jump onto that R&B metalcore blend that a lot of artists have been doing. It sounds just how I might imagine President and Bad Omens had a baby, and that's pretty much the music they do here. It's not awful. I think it's just some of the songs just feel generic to me. It just doesn't really have much of a unique spin. It's like, I've heard it before, why do they need to do it again? But there are some good elements, and I think as a whole it does sound like it's well made, so I'll give them that. It's got some nice polish to its sound, and instrumentally there's definitely some fun guitars, especially on some of the breakdowns, but minus that, it's just R&B metalcore again. At number 4 we have a group called Truck Violence, The Weather Vane Is My Body. So this is a kind of a weird album that plays with just a lot of different stuff, and it kind of reminds me of Chat Pile in a way, how you can get this very sludgy, aggressive sound, then you can just kind of go into the bizarre weirdness of this record. This album is insanely weird, and that's what I like about it. The only thing I would say is, while this feels Chat Pile coded, it doesn't really have anything too memorable on it. Some of the songs stand out because they are just like very much a very slow song. Some of them just kind of go for this, I guess it sounds sort of, one of them kind of sound a little country to me, but it's just mainly tamer songs to kind of pair the zaniness of this record apart. It's enjoyable. I do think this album is definitely underrated too. I just don't think anyone's really heard of Truck Violence. I didn't until reviewing it, so yeah, honestly decently surprised by this one. At number 3 we have Exploring Birdsong with their debut record Every House We Built. I remember seeing this band at the Radar Festival back in 2023. That's the only time I've ever been to a major festival, and I wouldn't even say it's major, it's quite a small one compared to like Download or Reading, but Exploring Birdsong had some pretty fun charm to them when I saw them there. But it's actually surprising that this is 3 years later we finally get an album from them, and I must say it's honestly a pretty beautiful album with some upbeat progressive rock and pop element to it. There is a lot of good songs on this one that actually surprised me, because as I was sort of wondering, is this album front loaded, the best song in my opinion just hits near the end, and it just kind of brings that feeling back of, oh my god, they definitely saved some of the good stuff up towards the latter half as well. It's a very nice, evenly rounded record, and maybe some of it might kind of come off as a bit, I guess, cliche or predictable, but there's a lot of cool moments to this, and as a debut record goes, I like the blend of it. It's got some nice progressive pop, you got little small elements of shoegaze as well. I feel like the way they've managed to incorporate this mixture works great in my opinion, so definitely a really solid album. At number 2 we have Junius Satira. So this is a sort of, I guess, post-metal, alt-metal sort of album, and it has got a really fun sound to it. It kind of reminds me of post-metal Deftones with some of the vocal delivery. There's a bit of shoegaze here and there as well into this one, but I honestly really enjoy the way this one is structured. It's got a lot of strong, punchy songs. It's only 8 tracks, but they make use of these tracks to make each one stand out to me, and upon first listen I was just hooked to it. It's a really fun album, but it's not the best one of the week. Even though this is more up my alley than number 1, I have to give it to number 1 because this one just kind of has some really fun appeal to it, and I think as this band goes, it's really surprising that they have managed to make one of their best albums in a long time. I'm on about Muse with the Wow Signal. The Wow Signal is honestly surprising that we actually have one of the best Muse albums be this far into their career, because we are sort of experiencing a renaissance of Muse here. This is probably where I'd say it starts, and if it continues this way, that'll be even better. Muse has had a bunch of albums in its career. The first 4 albums have been pretty damn solid in my opinion, but the Resistance onwards was only a downward spiral into some of the weakest and more, I guess, obnoxious era of Muse. I mean, this is the era where we had Will of the People and Simulation Theory, and those 2 albums I can safely say are not very good, unfortunately. Even though I used to be a big fan of Will of the People at the time, the album grew off me because I kind of lost interest in most of the ideas they're playing with here. But thankfully, instead of just focusing on government bads for the millionth time, when Muse actually lock into a premise and they lock into the space aesthetic, it works great. I mean, tracks like Hexagons, Cryogen, Unraveling as well as a really good lead single, they work great. Night Shift Superstar kind of feels like how you would do Simulation Theory stronger. It has that 80s poppy, synthy feel, but it actually works in the context of the record. It feels like you're on a space drive, and after the Dark Forest, it's a very good follow-up track onto the record. Though they did release half of the album before it came out, I will say that there is some pretty solid stuff on the second half. The Sickness in You and I is probably one of the least liked of this, but even this one's pretty solid. It's got some good groove I like to it, and I think the best song that isn't a single was Hush, featuring Ellie Goulding. Quite surprising, because we don't really get features on Muse necessarily, so this was a big deal to have Ellie Goulding featured, but Hush is honestly one of the stronger songs, and it really reeled me in. A lot of great material, not really a single song that just feels like a dud either. It's just some really fun space rock, neo, prog rock sound with some metal elements here and there. It's a very well-rounded Muse record, and they get my album of the week. So that's all I have to say. Hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next week.